Hi everyone, in device this is a small, basically just a small dun pattern. Now I'm basically answering a couple of questions I got on recently, a pattern I did where I used the Full & Mills Ultra, this material here, put it down, sorry, it's called Ultra Dry Yarn, and this one's a brown olive I've got here. It's basically a synthetic fibre, a synthetic yarn, which obviously we use a lot of this type of fibre in wings and posts and so on. There's quite a lot of uses for it when it comes to tying, especially dry flies. And this is the latest one in the market, and the question I got was, how small would you tie or use this down? Now this is a size 20, this is a Full & Mill hook again, so I do use the hooks. So anyway, I'll show you that it's the FM 50-55, it's ultimate dry, size 20, it's a fabulous hook. This is a bronze version, they do a black nickel. Now I've used a single strand, because they come off in lengths, you can double up on it, and this will form like give you impression of a wing. Years ago we tied with lots of other fibre, we still do, there's a multitude of fibres out there. They all have their own advantages. There's, as I say, especially this one, there's been a new version, I don't know if you can see, but you can see this springy type. If I pull it, it tightens up obviously, but I let it go, it opens out. So it makes for a really good fibre, especially if you're tying a dry fly. And it does float extremely well. I've fished it all season, and I would say it's top of my list when it comes to using it as in a few of the flies that I like tying. Now this is a basic sort of winged version, so you basically have a wing either side. You could, if you're tying it with white, obviously you could tie a spent with it. This one you can tie, as I say, a normal winged style, or you can have a laid back, much like, well, if you shorten this, you would have what they call the RS2. But basically this has got the longer wing to give a more laid back effect, and it'll float the fly. And I would say, I mean, I'm not saying you can't go any smaller than this, but I would say it's probably as low as probably I would go using this wing, which is ideal for a lot of the flies that I fish and tie. So anyway, quite a simple fly to tie. I'll do the kind of split wing version. It's quite easy to tie the two. They're not a hard fly to tie. So basically, thread, go with the colour of your fly you're tying. In this case I'm just going to use the olive dun and the small olive version. So simply just obviously wax my thread. It's an 8/0 uni thread. I'm going to start at the eye, just before the eye anyway. Now on the way down we tying the tail. Now you could have, this is Microfibets. Another question I got asked was, do I use Microfibets? And I do. You can see there's 3 there. This is a kind of brown olive type colour. I've had them for many years. I'm sure I've had these Microfibets since they came out. Tail length, again, it's up to yourself. It's a tail length, at least the hook length, over the back or even longer. It depends on the species. Now it's quite simple to tie it on. The way down, I find it easier. Come to the back of the hook here, just take your thread underneath, and then just basically, pull towards the eye, which will separate the tail fibres, and then you can lock them in. Now you could take a figure 8 through it, it's up to yourself to hold them apart, but that's fine. Now the dubbing, I'm just going to be using dubbing here this is a nice light dun as they call it. Just the ultra dried, again it's Full & Mill. So I'm just going to just a light, not too much, slide it up. And when you start off where you can actually see the thread, so it helps to get a taper, and then you'll start to get a nicer shape. Now you could have just the thread itself, which I do like at times, to have just a basic thread. a wee quick look at that. And if you can tidy up a wee bit. If you don't want too much or too much fibre. Colours there, so I'm just tightening it up a wee bit. Now we've got a single strand here of the wing, the ultra dry yarn as they call it. It's quite simple. I usually go a couple of turns and then just straight on top, obviously with a bit, maybe 1/4 of an inch over the front. Just bring it round and then figure 8 through, nice and tight. That's fine, don't go too much. Oops. So we're just basically making sure they're levelled up. Depends on how flat you want the wing. If you want it more upright, obviously you want to be able to try and get your wing to sit further up. And you can use the dubbing to do that, so I'm going back to the same dubbing. Just lightly dub it onto your thread. Slide it up. Normally I start on the back, 2 or 3 turns. Then you can figure 8 through if you want. But keep it really thin if you want to keep your wing a wee bit sort of more upright anyway. You want to end up at the front. See what we like. Just check to see what it looks like. And then we just basically wet finish. So we have a varnish on my thread from about 1 centimetre from the eye down, just enough so that when I wet finish it locks in the wet finish. Tighten up. Trim away. Now the wing, you can cut at a slight angle if you want. You can cut it straight up. I usually like to roll it so I can see it. I mean, basically one of the easiest way to do it is to come directly to the back of the hook, so you get the same length every time. So you want your scissors right at the back of the bend, put a kind of like 45-degree bend or sort of angle into your wing. You don't want it too flat. Oops, I missed a bit. This will give you a slight angle on the wing. If you've missed one or two, I've missed one or two here. We're just going to tidy this up. Just losing the edge of my scissors a wee bit there, so I need to sharpen them. They don't have the wings too long, as I say. You can mess about. You could have as long as you like. And there we are. Just lift my tail up. You'll see it sits nice. Nice wee dry flies, got the taper with the colour of the thread up into the body and the thorax. And these are great wee duns, they float forever. Now as I say, the other way to do it, I'll quickly tie another one just to show you. It's basically, this is a different style, gives you more an upright wing. Sometimes you want that, you don't want it too flat or too wide. It's just yourself. I'll use a grey thread. This is a wee pattern I like tying. This is for some, I find the grey works really well. So anyway, it's the Uni Thread 80 in grey. Still using the same hook, blacksmith thread. Just come in. And the way down again when we tie in the tail. Just select, you can 2 or 3 fibres, 3 there. Getting harder to see nowadays, but anyway. Do the tail a wee bit longer so you can see it. Sometimes it's worth having a longer tail. There's some of these flies have really long tails. So we're going down, get to the bend of the hook, come underneath, pull towards the eye, bring the tail fibres up. The microfibets can take a lot of abuse. Put it this way, you'll not wear them out in a hurry. Once you're happy with the shape, just come over a lock and turn. You should have a nice long tail there. Basically spreads the weight of the fly. Now I'm just going to use the thread to form the body. So I'm just going to go up to the body length, which is 2/3, come back down 2/3, come back up, and that gives you a nice wee sort of taper. It's there. It's not much of a taper, but it's enough to give the impression of the body. Now what I've got here is the same material, wing material, but this time there's two lengths in here. So what I'm going to do is just tie on a clump here. Just going to tidy the ends up first. Now make sure I'm in the right area. Make sure you wax your thread, because you need the grip. So I say just exaggerate the wing a wee bit. Just tie it on the top, a pinch and loop. Now this is where these are good, like if you want to change the dry into say an emerger, you can always trim them down. Now I'm just going to tidy this up a wee bit. Just check my wing. I've got a couple of fibres round there. You will do that. You can pull them round. Not the fish are going to notice, but anyway, just check and see how it's sitting. Don't know what I've done here. So the fibre wrapped round. Once you do this, it's one after the other. Now, if you do get messed up, and I have messed up slightly there, so what you do is just bring all your fibres together, just come round underneath, and so it's like a couple of post turns of thread, which will help lift them or keep them together. That's a bit better. We'll just leave it. I mean, the type of fibre this is crinkly, and that will happen. It's not too straight, but I don't want it too straight. And then we want to get back to our dubbing. I'm just going to use the olive, basically the ultra dry dub for full mill. Just slide it up. I'm just going to tighten, run up. Now you can just lift the wing, do a wee half turn under, turn at the back, and then I'm going to come back through. There's that one fibre is being stubborn. Come back through, sorry, and then wind towards the eye. Yeah, and then we do much the same again to tie off, to wee drop of varnish onto the thread. And then we have that finish. Tighten up, trim away. Now, as I say, what you can do if you want to say like tie it's actually a famous fly in America. It was a rim chung was the gentleman who originally came up with what they call the RS2 emerger. So if you wanted to tie that, then you would basically cut it quite short. So you're forming like the emerger. I usually come in straight, depending how short you want it. But I would basically tie it, or do it towards the end first. Leave it there for a standard dry. If you find they're taking emergers, obviously have your scissors with you, you'll be able to trim it back, shorten it so it gets a wee bit lower. And that's basically would give you the RS2. Very popular fly, especially for picky fish. So there we are. As I say, that's a good wee pattern that you could obviously mess around with. You could do the same with the first one I tied. You could reduce the wing length to make it an emerger, but this is more suited for the RS2. This is more for the duns that's coming off. So it is a good wee material, the ultra dry yarn. The wool tie, as you can see, down to a size 20, okay. Nice fly, nice fibre. So anyway, there we are. So I hope you enjoyed that, and again, thanks for watching.